Welcome into the DNVR Broncos podcast. RK and Zach here. I'm so used to having a little bit longer time there.
Yeah. We just got to jump right into the show, baby.
The people want their show.
Yep.
You know, we got to give the people what they want. I didn't have time to get my tweet ready, so I'll just slowly, casually work on this.
Well,
as
you casually work on it, I will tell you about our great presenting sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. Where right now you can bet $5 on any NBA game and you get $150 in your account. It's as easy as that. And use code DNVR when you sign up to get this deal and to also get up to $1,000 in a sign-up bonus over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code DNVR. But Ryan, that wasn't the only thing that I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about your rosy appearance. You have some red cheeks. I don't know if that's because a little golf earlier today, if that's because we caught you a little off guard starting right after the countdown, and then also you've tried to do a good job of hiding your feet.
Yes.
Tried.
Well, I'm not hiding my feet. That makes it sound like I'm I just don't want anyone who doesn't want to see man foot today to have to see it.
There's a lot of people out there that want to see man foot, though.
I'm confident in the appearance of my man foot, but I don't want to force it upon anyone.
As he has two bobbleheads blocking it, plus a DNVR logo, he's confident that you want to see his foot.
Honestly, on a scale of 1 to ogre, I feel like I'm like 1 being the most beautiful foot you've ever seen. I'm a 3.
A 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's that? Princess status?
It's palatable man status.
Okay. Very far from princess status.
The only thing I need is a little more color on it, because most of the time I'm in the sun is on the golf course.
Right, and you're doing a good job wearing the white shoe, though, so it doesn't look as white as the shoe.
So you want to hear something really funny?
Oh, boy.
It's a really good thing that there's no shows that I'm on that see the back of my head.
Okay.
Because I was on the golf course yesterday, and I've been on top of sunscreen. There's certain days where you're just out there long enough. There's no help that sunscreen can provide you. That's why my face is sunburned today. Also, did not think to put sunscreen in the hole of the hat, especially since I have a fresh haircut. So behind the hole of the hat is just my head with a tiny bit of hair on it. And so I literally have a half circle
of
sunburn where there's a hole right above the snapback.
That's it. You got a little dome.
It's almost
a dome on your
the
dome.
Nuggets skyline logo, it's in that shape. Yep. It's just like that.
Wow.
Maybe I should have someone draw the Nuggets skyline logo in
there. I think you need to shave some of the head so that we can see it, and it's actually pink. Then you have the hair, and then you have the hat.
Oh,
that can be your own personal branding.
Maybe I should go try to bring back when people got cool designs cut into their hair.
Do you ever do a lightning bolt or anything?
The most I've ever done, so I always have the hard part.
Yep.
I've gone double. So that and then another line underneath it.
With one strip of hair in between?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, how'd that feel?
It felt good,
Did you feel edgy?
It felt fast.
Yeah. Why'd you leave it? A lightning bolt would probably make it feel faster.
I did that when I was 23.
And is that when this haircut debuted?
No, I don't know. I feel like I've outgrown. I feel like I'm too old now for the double stripe.
Are you too old for the single stripe, for the hard part?
No.
Did you have to start going soft
That's just
part?
classy.
Okay, just classy.
It's just class. It's looking sharp.
Then why are you hiding it?
I'm not hiding anything. I just wore a hat today, so I didn't have to. I can't my hair is probably not in on-camera condition.
He didn't put all of these things in front of his feet to hide his feet. He didn't wear the hat to hide his head.
Nope.
Wow, a lot of things going on here.
Yep. Although I will say, I need the hair on the back of my head to start growing. That one's not going to work for me. Anyways, you were out in the sun a little bit this weekend.
Yes.
Watching some Broncos rookie minicamp.
Yep.
What did we learn?
One huge takeaway, Ryan, and it's not just from minicamp, but it's over these past few weeks. But at minicamp, I thought, wow, this is a big one. And it feels like Greg Dulcich is the Broncos' first pick in the draft, and Nik Bonitto is the second pick in the draft.
Why is that?
And I think that's kind of how I'm going to start approaching them this year. And the reason for that is when we hear the coaches specifically, because those are the guys making the decisions, when we hear them talk about Nik Bonitto, one of the first things they say is he needs to do this or do that. He needs to be better in the run game. He needs to bulk up. He needs to become an all-around player. And they're just telling the truth. But then just followed up right after that, just like Evero said this weekend, he's a ready-made pass rusher. He's already ready for that in the NFL. So it's not like they're bashing the guy. They just keep challenging him, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, when you talk to people about Greg Dulcich, what they always say and what they say right away is how good he is and how polished he is and how he's already an all-around tight end. In fact, he's more of an all-around tight end already, according to Nathaniel Hackett, than any of the Broncos tight ends on the roster right now.
So that was a sneaky need for them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think it's bad news for Alberto.
It's very bad news.
It's very bad news because we kind of thought, okay, so they have Alberto, the pass catcher, and they have Eric Tomlinson, the road grader.
Yep.
And I think there was a world you could have lived in where it's like, yeah, you're going to go 3 wide a lot, so you pick your whatever you want out there depending on what you're going to do and like so on and so forth. But we have to remember, like, this West Coast offense utilizes the tight end. You know, this is Shannon Sharp, you know what I mean? And we didn't talk a lot about tight end. But to me, it feels like this is a position that they really wanted to fill, as also evidenced by George Payton saying, F it, what if we just trade up? If one of the tight ends is there, most likely Trey McBride. And they love Greg Dulcich. So great news for him. Sounds like he's going to be on the field a lot. Bad news for Alberto.
Yeah, very bad news for Alberto, and especially because when they've talked about Alberto, Ryan, they've talked about how he's more of a receiver. Nathaniel Hackett said that back at the owners' meetings, and then on the field, they freaking love Eric Tomlinson. Now, do I think that because they love his personality and kind of what he presents at practice, that's going to make him the starter week 1? No, I certainly don't think so. But I think when push comes to shove, he's going to be your second, maybe third tight end. Alberto, Ryan, maybe looking as your 4th tight end because days after the draft, they went inside Eric Saubert, who's a guy who is a very solid tight end. He's not a great receiver. He's not a great blocker, but I think he's a guy that they trust, and I don't know if they trust Alberto.
Let me ask you this. If it was Trey McBride on the board instead of Nik Bonitto, I guess, do they still sign Saubert?
It's a good question. I don't know.
The answer might be no.
Because they know Trey McBride is a week 1 starter. And they're not necessarily sold yet that Dulcich is a week 1 starter?
Yeah, I mean, they can talk all around a lot. I'm not sold. I think he has a lot of size to add.
He does.
And strength before he's like blocking players on the edge of run plays.
100%.
So I think Trey McBride also probably had to put in some work, but he's 10 pounds heavier.
Yep.
So I think that's interesting.
So one thing we kept hearing about specifically this weekend about Dulcich is he's a very willing blocker. He's a willing blocker, and the technique will come. How is Alberto not a willing blocker? And not necessarily, but of course, when I hear that, I just think of Alberto because we know Tomlinson's a good blocker. We know Saubert, they trust him enough, but I feel like Alberto's a willing enough blocker.
So this is a mentality thing. It's a mindset thing. When they say willing blocker, they don't really mean like, Albert, I don't know. We ask him to block. He just won't do it.
During blocking drills, he doesn't
he says
do
no.
it.
He's like, I'm going with the receivers. It's more about a mentality thing. Like I don't want to put this on Alberto, but it's almost like a toughness that you just bring to the field, right? You're like, I want to go hit somebody.
Yeah.
Like for Alberto, it's not what he's out there to do, and it doesn't. When you watch him on film, it doesn't really look like it's what he wants to do. Like he doesn't go seek people out and pop them. Like he goes through the motions of what he's told to do and tries to do his best at it. Willing blocker to me is like that guy wants to go out there and hit someone, and I can definitely see that in Greg Dulcich.
And you said pop, and that was the word I was going to use for what I saw from him over the weekend. Now, he's just doing this against bags and people holding bags, but he was popping, he was exploding up into him, and so I could see the willing blocker. But Ryan, what really sold me on Greg Dulcich this weekend? You got something first?
No.
I don't know what I said. Who knows if I just said something weird there. But what really sold me on Greg Dulcich, and I think what's going to make Broncos fans really excited, is he looks like a slot receiver when he's out there running routes from 5 to 10 yards. And what I mean by that is not his size. I mean his feet. He is quick. And when you watch him, I honestly thought he was going like it was fast forward. I didn't believe my eyes for a second. And
wow.
And so did I see him tear apart the defense going deep? No, because they weren't doing that this weekend. But that's been my biggest question with him is the 4.69 40. Does he have that speed? And I haven't seen it yet to say, yes, he has that speed. But I think where we're really going to see him thrive is just the footwork and the quickness and the speed that he has right off the line. That was something I saw this week. And I think he's going to eat from 5 to 15 yards. And after this weekend, I feel even more confident about that.
I love this. I love this because I'm not going to say we're like the most... what's the word I'm looking for? Skeptical,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You were the most skeptical of like all of this talk about him being a vertical threat and stuff, and then posting a 4.69 40.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about it, about how there's other ways, to get open. And I think what you're saying right now is that you saw that on display. It's like he gets in and out of breaks quickly. He has tricks to get himself open. Obviously, like Jerry Jeudy is the epitome. We've seen all the videos of like how he gets himself open, but he's doing that against the people who are out there to cover.
Right.
Greg Dulcich gets to do that against linebackers, and so if he has a little bag of move, a little shake to him, he's gonna have a great time getting open for Russell Wilson.
Yep, exactly. And also we know Greg Dulcich doesn't need to come in and be a tight end that's tearing up the field and dominating 5, 10, 15, 30 yards out. The Broncos have so many other weapons, and I think at least now that's where he can kind of find his sweet spot.
Yep, absolutely. Also wanted to toss in congratulations to Sierra for getting the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit. Huge dub for the First Lady of Denver. We get to claim that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Denver resident Sierra.
Yeah.
On the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit. So dub for her, dub for us. Everyone's happy. Huge dub for Russ.
I was gonna say big time dub for Russ. And very very cool. And kind of speaking of swimsuits, Ryan, we had the belly last year. Of course, with
Quinn Miners.
With Quinn Miners having the belly breathe. And he was a little timid about it, though. Remember, he was going to put the belly away until he earned his spot. I think it's going to come out. Didn't want to be a
distraction.
Yeah, he didn't want to get the sunburn. He didn't want the little belly button sunburn, maybe. I think that's going to be
always got to get some sunscreen.
Yes, especially in, around. The hairs that are there can make a weird burn. But I think he's going to let that breathe. One person that's not afraid of letting their skin out is Mr. Greg Dulcich. Ryan, he is wearing short shorts, and when asked about it, he said, they're shorts.
They're called shorts
for a reason.
That is the new trees don't grow in the shade.
Yep.
They're called shorts for a reason. Ankles out season is upon us, but also I guess now upper thighs out season is upon us.
Yeah, it is. Now, controversial here. He was wearing really tall socks with that, like almost up to the knee. I would kind of just prefer let it all breathe.
Right. Yeah.
What a weird tan you're going to have.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. My calves got absolutely roasted in the sun this weekend. But I'm happy about, that means eventually they're going to have some color.
Yep.
If I was just covering up with socks all day, then, I'd have this weird burn line on the back of my thighs.
I mean, that little tan line you got now is going to go all the way up to your knee.
Yeah, I know. I might just go, while I'm playing Madden or something, just put my feet outside my window, just get some sun on them. Okay, so let me ask you this. I feel like there are some people being rubbed the wrong way by Greg Dulcich's demeanor, confidence. I saw some negative comments on Twitter and other places being like, who does this guy think he is? I'm tired of hearing about his hair. I don't want to see his thighs. He comes from LA. What do you think of that?
Well, what that makes me think, Ryan, is entitled was the next word that was going to jump into my mind. But Greg Dulcich is the opposite of entitled. You know why he's wearing number 80? for Rod Smith. A big reason why he's wearing number 80 is because of Rod Smith. And the first thing he pointed to, outside of saying Rod Smith's a great player, is Rod Smith was undrafted. And I was a walk-on at UCLA. And so he really had to earn his way on there. He didn't go to UCLA with the scholarship. He didn't go there with any guarantee to make the team. He earned his way there. And yes, he's a little more confident now probably than he was at UCLA, but he's a guy that's still really going to fight and work for it. So that's one thing. When you say those things, I think of entitlement, and I just don't associate that with Greg Dulcich.
Yeah, I love it. I'm always going to be pro personality from the players. Like, even Draymond, he's obviously polarizing.
Yep.
But I'm like, we can't complain about these guys who go up there and say nothing,
right,
and then also complain about the guys who go up there and say something.
Yep.
So, sometimes you're going to say things that rub people the wrong way. In Greg Dulcich's case, like maybe some people are going to be put off by like you being eccentric and showing your personality. I'm the opposite. Give me all of your personality. Show me everything, because I want to know who these guys really are, And so I'm all for it. Build a brand. Also, build a brand.
Right.
Like, legitimately. Everyone knows, football is a short-term thing. You are going to come here. You're going to earn a whole lot of money for a very little time. And if you didn't do anything, if you didn't talk and you didn't build any sort of brand, you are going to have less to fall back on. Now, maybe you had straight A's in college and you have, a great education to fall back on, and a lot of these guys went to good schools. But to me, it's like, Greg Dulcich is going to have a Head and Shoulders commercial if he balls out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep,
Build your brand and lean into it. Look at this. Anthony Davis built a brand off of having a unibrow, something that is like universally stigmatized.
Universally.
Nice.
Yeah.
But he leaned into it. He was like, that's part of me. I'm going with it.
Yep.
And he's made money off of that.
Yep. He absolutely has. Ryan, I was on a radio show in Las Vegas earlier today, and
Slight flex.
and one of the things that they asked me was, so they didn't use the word corniness, but is Russ, his social media presence, always posting stuff, is that grinding on people in Denver yet? And unfortunately, yes, it is. But that made me think the people that are letting it
grinding on people.
On some people, yeah. His corniness and his personality is already grinding on people.
What do we mean by people? Like haters online?
By Broncos fans. Some people are like, I don't like this. What Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson positivity. Which is crazy.
Okay,
and so
let me just.
So what this opened my eyes to really quick was, you guys cannot play into that anymore, because that's playing into exactly what Raiders fans want. And if Raiders fans are wanting you to start pushing that narrative, you can't buy into that. And so it reminds me of Greg Dulcich really quick, because if you're going to start hating the confidence that he has, I mean, you wouldn't like it if he came up and he had no confidence at all. So just unite around these guys.
All right. So let me just say this. Like, I've obviously made jokes about Russell's corniness. Like, it is very out there and it's very obvious. It's not grinding on me in any way, shape, or form.
No. It's not grinding on me.
Like, all anyone cares about is good quarterback play. So the only way that this can, like, quote unquote can be grinding on anyone right now is because they haven't played yet. And they haven't even gotten to training camp yet. And as soon as Russ goes out there and everyone that's watching training camp is like, oh my God, this is incredible, no one's going to think about it. And even if they do, then they're going to stop in week 1 when he throws 8 touchdowns.
Yep, all over the Seattle Seahawks.
I haven't decided if I want to make that a prediction yet.
Is it a premonition?
No, it's just Peyton had 7, and that wasn't actually his first game. It was the first game of his second year.
Right.
But I'm just, why not?
There would be no better time for 8.
Okay, so even if when he goes out and throws 4 touchdowns in week 1.
You think he's bad now?
I'm just setting realistic expectations. No one's going to think about it or care about it.
Right, 100%. 100%.
Yep.
So I'm right there with you. But if you have that mindset, you're just playing into what the Raiders want you to think. They also aren't buying into Russ. It's crazy what they've got going on. They've got Josh McDaniels' eyes going on.
real quick. So can you just give me a lowdown of like what? So Zach was on the radio in Vegas today, like you mentioned. And they didn't. What do you mean when you say they're not buying Russ?
They think the Broncos are still the worst team in the AFC West. And now he said that could see them getting to 10 wins. Because,
can I just say this? There is no worst team in the AFC West.
Right. And what I said was I can absolutely see the Raiders, who I think is the worst team in the AFC West, getting to double-digit wins. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to predict. I'm probably going to predict 2 12-6 or 2 12-5 teams, like we did last week. The Broncos is one of them. An 11-6 team and a 10-7 team. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen. And so they kind of view it as, okay, the Broncos aren't bad, but they're the worst team. They're that 10-7 team.
Interesting. I'm sensing a little bit of pandering to their fan base, but like
probably.
Are there even like real Raiders fans in Las Vegas that hate the Broncos?
Probably not. They don't know what the Broncos
weird.
Rivalry is.
So weird.
Yeah.
Hopefully it gets another kick here. What I will say is this. I still wouldn't like it, but I would at least understand it if this was coming from Kansas City.
Okay.
And they're like, we're not buying this whole Russ thing. We have Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
I would be like, but they have Derek Carr. So are you buying the Derek Carr thing?
I think
because Russell Wilson is way better than Derek Carr.
I agree with you. I think what they're buying is some weird national hype that Russ is on the downfall. And people say that, and I say the downfall is 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
In how many games?
In 13 games. Are you kidding me? If that's the downfall, sign me up. And this isn't just coming off of years with Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch. I can go on and on. No, that's just damn good quarterback play right there. And by the way, so you expand him, you let him throw more. Then we're talking about in the same ratio, 35 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. If the Broncos had that last year, what's their record?
Definitely double-digit wins. Definitely a playoff team. Yeah. Not even close.
So that is that is one of the weirdest things about just life in 2022. If the right amount of people say something, a bunch of people who don't actually pay attention will just absorb it and accept it.
Yep, 100%.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it really is.
And even if you watched Russ last year, after the injury, you could tell he wasn't totally the same. Mm-hmm. And he was still so good.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that he was still injured. Has he actually talked about what percentage he was at when he came back?
No.
It's interesting. And what, he had missed 0 starts up until that point?
0. So and when he signed with the Broncos, he said, and a frickin' thumb is what got me.
Right. That's a really important part.
It is. It is.
To being a quarterback. And he came back at, I always say the number is about 70% is like when you can respectably come back and play without hurting the team. And obviously from his stats, he wasn't hurting the team. He was helping them when he came back. But 70% of Russ, even if you got that forever, it would still be a massive upgrade for the Broncos. I'm going 100%. To say it's fair to say you're going to get 100% of Russ for a period of time.
Yes, for many, many, many years. Yeah. For at least until he's 40, I think.
I'll say you're going to get 100% of who he is for 4 or 5 years.
Man, you don't think he's Tom Brady then?
No, huh? I think he can play for a really long time. But, things slow down. Tom Brady doesn't scramble around and run around.
That's fair.
So, maybe he can be like Vince Carter of the NBA, who just figured out how to shoot open threes.
Is he still playing?
I don't think so. But once he got older, he was just like, okay, well now I'm going to become a great 3-point shooter. Like he went from being the most electric dunker to like a guy who could shoot 40% from 3. Maybe Russ can go from being maybe the most electric scrambler to a guy who can sit in the pocket. But at a certain point, he's going to have to change a little bit.
He'll be able to do that. Right, yeah, and I have no doubt he'll be able to be that great pocket passer. And Ryan, something that is so adaptable and versatile and always brings 100% is our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery, where no matter what beer you get, it is going to be a great one. And we have so many Breck brews here at the DNVR Bar. You got to come by the bar and get a Breck beer. And also, one thing that the Breckenridge Brewery community is doing for Avs playoffs, because they are the official beer of the Avs playoffs with their Avalanche Amber, they are giving tickets to 2 community members for every single Avs home playoff game. It's so cool. And also, they're donating a portion of all all proceeds of sales of Avalanche Ale through the playoffs to the community fund in the Boulder County to benefit the Marshall Fire victims, which is so cool. So if you want to nominate someone to get free tickets to the Avs game along with so much gear and Avalanche Ale, go to breckbrew.com and find out how to do that there.
I opened up my text with you to look at the rundown and realized I typed out a whole text to you yesterday, but never pressed send.
Oh wow!
So
okay. We have the we have the proof there.
Yes, we have the proof. My bad. Also, want to remind you guys to come down to the DNVR bar. At long last, we know when the Avs are playing again.
Yes.
What a stupid system they have.
Did we find out before midnight last night? Was it right around then?
It would have been right after Stars Flames or shortly thereafter. Why did we have to wait for all of the ones to end to at least have a schedule? There was no Game 8 coming. We knew when the last Game 7 was.
That's very true. The NHL has just dropped the ball with that. And also, you were talking about on Bets with Andre earlier, no playoff games tonight. Why not have the Avs tonight?
Avs Blues have both been done for multiple days. Obviously, the Avs have now been done for a full calendar week.
Yep.
And so you easily could have put Avs Blues today. Why? We don't need a break. No one needs a break.
No, we don't need. And also, it doesn't hurt the Avs more necessarily, but it helps the Blues. Gives them more time off. No, you should be given an advantage when you sweep a team and finish them off instead of going 6 games like the Blues did. They should be playing tonight.
Yeah, massive L on their part. Anyways, come down to the DNVR bar to watch Game 1 tomorrow. Should be awesome. Obviously, Game 2 Thursday, Game 3 Saturday. That one's going to be crazy here at the DNVR bar. There's no better place other than the stadium. I'll give the stadium some credit to watch a game.
Well, probably.
But if you're thinking like cost to fun ratio, we might have the dub there.
Oh, for sure. There's no question about it.
Because I got tickets to Game 1, and it is not cheap. I don't understand. I'm scared because where do we go from here? Hopefully there's 2 more rounds of playoffs.
Yes.
The exponential increase from the cost of round 1 tickets to round 2 tickets is very concerning to me.
Oh, boy. And with the Stanley Cup finals here.
Yeah, I'm going to have to start putting my change in a piggy bank.
Are we getting close at all to Seattle Seahawks Week 1 tickets against the Broncos? I think those are the most expensive tickets Seattle's had in like a decade.
Yeah, I got a DM from one of our listeners who said, hey, we're trying to buy tickets to go see them in Seattle. What the hell? Like, do you know why these are so expensive? And I was just like, I just assume that's their game of the year. They're going to try to milk it.
I was going to say, how expensive are Super Bowl tickets typically? Like really expensive, right? Ridiculous.
Probably like $2,500 is the cheapest to get in.
This is the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl. So it's not going to be $2,500, but this is their Super Bowl, Week 1. And from their perspective, they love it because they're 0-0 when they get to play Russell Wilson. They're not 1-7 like they would be if the Broncos played him in Week 9.
If they boo the best quarterback in their franchise history, they should move their franchise to Oklahoma City.
They might have to move their franchise to Oklahoma City, Ryan. I think their fan base is pretty divided because there's a narrative built there, and we heard it from the Seahawks management that Russ forced his way out.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Like, sometimes there are bad breakups at the end of great relationships. And you, as a fan base, should realize best quarterback in franchise history, we should show him our love and appreciation.
So here's the thing, though, with that bad breakup. You see the girl that you had a great relationship with a year after the breakup. Probably very friendly. Probably you remember the good times, laugh, you can hug. You see her the next day after you break up. That may be a little dicey still, and that's maybe what Seahawks fans are feeling Week 1.
Fair.
But I agree with you. I would be on your side, too.
There's just no way. Send them down, the road that the Sonics went if they boo Russell Wilson.
And a way that some Seattle Supersonics players may have gone is the road of the American Raptors, Ryan, because what the American Raptors are doing, they are a rugby team here in Glendale, Colorado, and they have a really cool concept. They're taking players that have played other sports and turning them into rugby players, Ryan. Last year, they went 5-5 in their very first season, and that was with players who, again, have never played rugby before, and that's a really cool thing they're doing over at an Infinity Park in the Colorado Colorado rugby team, the American Raptors, is having another season soon. And if you can get free tickets to their games by going over to AmericanRaptors.com to get your free tickets, you can also stream the games online over at AmericanRaptors.com. So to check out the schedule, get some free tickets, check them out over at AmericanRaptors.com.
Someone in the comments here says, NFL going to set up a Seahawks dub to pump up Drew Lock. No, Russ and the Broncos is a much more profitable storyline for them.
Yes. How much did the NFL try to pump up Drew Lock?
Maybe they posted the clip of him rapping on the sidelines.
Yeah, and that was probably just a retweet of the Broncos posting it or something like that. The Broncos had one primetime game last year. When the schedule was released, remember, Drew Lock was not necessarily the backup quarterback yet.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't care about Drew. And this is not to bash Drew. This is just the facts. They don't care about Drew.
Yep.
Russ comes here, the max five prime time. They're sending him to London.
6. Did they lower it?
I thought it was 6 as well. So maybe they saved that for a flex game?
I always thought it was 6 plus flex, but then I realized no one got more than 5. Because I was kind of pissed. I was like, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Why would the Broncos get less than the max?
Yeah, there's like 10 teams that have 5, and the Broncos are one of them.
Yep. Like I said, when I saw the schedule release, I was like, oh, the Broncos are back.
Yep.
In the NFL, I mentioned this too. The NFL loves the Denver Broncos. It's the only league that I believe truly values the Denver market and the Denver Broncos, and they would never do that.
And also, when I think of markets, obviously Denver's a smaller market than New York, Los Angeles, than a lot of other sports markets. But when I think of football markets, this is as big as it gets.
Yep.
They're right up there with all the other. Now, maybe not with actual numbers of people living in that city, but in terms of interest.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about like Dallas and stuff like that, but it's one of the first questions I ask when I talk to people from other cities, especially now that, we're ever expanding and I'm just curious about other sports cities, is like, what do they talk about on the radio here? Is it all NFL all the time?
Yep.
And a lot of places it is, but not as many as I would expect.
Right. Interesting.
And Denver is absolutely an all Broncos all the time on the radio market.
And what's cool is this show is Broncos all the time.
It is. It is absolutely. But what's also cool is that we have other shows.
That's what's
and
also
if you like
really
other teams,
cool.
You get to listen to them too. That's what I like about us is we don't pigeonhole our listeners and our members into having to hear one thing. They can hear whatever they want.
You can find your niche if it's one team, or you can find 2 of them, or you can just embrace everything.
Yep. And we've even got a podcast for that.
Yeah, we certainly do.
Anyways, well, let's get back on track here.
Nik Bonitto. Now, we've talked about Greg Dulcich. I'm really pumped about him. I'm not down on Nik Bonitto at all, Ryan, but he's a project. But and the coaches make that very clear. Again, like I said, Evero this weekend said he's a ready-made pass rusher, but there's this, and this that he needs to improve, and it's all about just becoming a complete player, becoming bigger, developing more than one move in the pass rush game, and also becoming a better in the run game as well. But just the interesting thing is the situation he's in. What role does he have? Where is he? Because he could be the week 1 starter, Ryan.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm down on Nik Bonitto because he said he took number 42 because he doesn't care what his number is.
And then he got stuck with Casey Kreider's old number.
What are we doing? The fact that even you are on my side on this tells me it was a really bad
bad number.
I wish I knew that he didn't care. So I could have been like, I would have showed up to Denver Broncos headquarters, knocked on the door, and been like, "Hi, I'm here on behalf of Nik Bonitto to negotiate his number. He doesn't want to deal with it, so I've come in to help him." Because I would have said anything but number 42.
Seriously, no 40s.
And this scares me now because even if good numbers become available, now I'm worried that he's just gonna be I don't care.
Yeah, he's
like, do you want 11? We got rid of Josh Johnson. And he's like, honestly, it's fine.
He's at the point where he needs to pay Josh.
How did he get number 11 if he doesn't care about numbers?
Because it's a great number?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Oh, this is tough. Anyways, we can talk football again.
Does Nik Bonitto start week 1? And obviously, the reason why he would start is because Randy Gregory or Bradley Chubb aren't out there.
Man, is that a legit worry at this point?
Bradley Chubb, no.
Okay.
Randy Gregory, Ryan, I feel like we see it every offseason with a different player. Yeah. Something happens either in minicamp, before, or in OTAs, and they say, oh, he'll be fine for training camp. That's exactly where we're at right now with Randy Gregory. He'll be fine for training camp. Training camp comes around, we just want to play it extra cautious with him. And so I'm not going to say that Randy's going to be ready to go until I see him on the field.
Well, in that case, then yes, I think Nik Bonitto would be the starter. But in a regular world where Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory are the starters, I think it's a perfect way for Nik Bonitto to come into the NFL. Because I think it was you who mentioned this idea, and this is my favorite thing I've heard about this combination. Line up Bradley Chubb as a defensive end on some pass rush downs and combo Nik Bonitto on the same side. That sounds deadly to me. And like when the Broncos drafted Bradley Chubb, he was considered a little bit of a tweener.
Yep.
And I think it's mostly just been injuries that have held him back. But I also think there is something to the fact that he doesn't have a freakish speed rush. And, his bull rush, which is good, doesn't match up with like really great defensive ends who can bull rush the hell out of people. So I don't see why you wouldn't do that. Like, I don't think you need to pigeonhole Bradley Chubb into being an outside linebacker.
Yep.
And I think especially, again, 3rd and 11, they're not running the ball. You can get super light on your edges.
Yep.
And let Nik Bonitto do what he does and give Bradley Chubb a favorable matchup against someone who's not used to blocking really good edge rushers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where Nik Bonitto's role is in this defense, is being able to capitalize on that. Obviously, anytime Randy Gregory or Bradley Chubb come off the field or, knock on wood, can't play, then he's the guy that's stepping in. But speaking of this position, Ryan, we found out it's just more and more on Baron Browning being an outside linebacker only. We found out his transition to outside linebacker is going great. He's developing moves. He's getting a lot more comfortable there, and they are not taking their foot off the gas with this at all.
Why?
Because in the words of Evero, you can't have enough pass rushers. We will take them
Yes, you can.
all. And I think the Broncos do have too many right now.
Yes.
Because when you look at the outside linebacker group, there is 6 guys that should be on an NFL roster. One of those guys can be on an NFL roster as an inside linebacker. You can convince yourself of keeping 5 outside linebackers. Teams do it. Typically, you'd like to do 4. You can convince yourself of 5. Going a whole nother wave deeper?
Is this a situation where they're going to save a roster spot by saying, well, Baron Browning's both? So they're only going to keep 3 inside linebackers and say, well, Baron Browning counts as the 4th. He's also our 6th pass rusher.
He has to be. He has to be counted as the 4th in that case.
Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of. I hate it. I really do. Maybe they see something, and I'm not even saying that I don't see it, I guess, necessarily. Like, I think Baron Browning can be an outside pass rusher. It just doesn't, that's not a need.
No, it's not a need, especially when you go and get Nik Bonitto.
Yep.
Especially when you have Jonathan Cooper. And they clearly can't be as high on Jonathan Cooper as we all are. I don't think Jonathan Cooper is a first-round pass rusher, but we said if he didn't have that injury last year, maybe a third-rounder.
Yeah.
Coming out of college, a third-round
pick. Trade him
pick.
if you don't like him.
Exactly. And that's kind of how I feel about Albert O. Maybe he's up for some trade bait. Obviously, Nik Bonitto's not up for trade. Baron Browning is not going to be a trade guy. It's just very, very interesting.
It is interesting. I don't like it. I hope I end up being wrong here. I hope that, he ends up being a great edge rusher who also can help them out at inside. Maybe it goes back to this thing that I've been saying for a while about how all of these freak athletes are becoming edge rushers because that's where all the money is.
Yep.
So maybe he's all about it,
Yeah.
because he's saying like, "Oh, I get to rush the quarterback. That's how I make money.
Right,
$1 million every time I get there."
Inside linebacker, not nearly as profitable.
Definitely not. And so maybe also the Broncos are taking that approach, which is like, he's a freak athlete. We should have him rushing the passer.
Right.
I just hate it. I hate it because I think he solved a problem for you at inside. What problem does he solve for you at outside?
And I thought about this morning. Unless they're not sold on Randy Gregory or Bradley Chubb for the future, which is weird. Then why do you pay Randy Gregory?
They have to be sold on Randy.
You hope at least for the next 2 years.
And we know that they knew about the shoulder thing before they signed him. So it's not like they this like the rug got pulled out from under them and they're scrambling now.
Right.
They signed Randy Gregory knowing about the shoulder, not caring.
Yep, exactly.
And Russ helps recruit him. They have to be in on it.
Yeah, exactly. And Kale said, and Russ helped recruit him.
Yep.
They're 100% in on Randy Gregory.
Mm-hmm. It's just bizarre. It is bizarre. Ryan, something else.
Are they going to do like line changes at edge rusher?
That's what it feels like. Like mid-pass rush, they're going to send someone else in.
Tag teams?
Right, exactly.
They're running the play in and out like youth football?
They honestly better at this point. Maybe they think that's the key to Randy Gregory staying healthy and Bradley Chubb staying healthy. Potentially. And because one thing that Vic Fangio liked to do was play these guys all the time. And that they shouldn't do that this year.
Eric here in the comments says, I honestly think this is a testament to how much they like Jonas Griffith. There is a Jonas Griffith thing here. And I don't want to downplay him at all because I feel like that would be doing the thing that we talk about, which is like once a guy's undrafted or, you know, gets kicked around a little bit, everyone just forgets about them and their ceiling gets unfairly lowered. Jonas Griffith has it all. He's fast, he's big, he's strong. He has no accolades in the NFL to this point other than he played last year and he played well.
Right.
Where I guess where I have a hard time is like I would feel like that would have helped him in the old staff's eyes.
Right.
But maybe this staff came in and watched that film and said, there's our guy right there.
Maybe. And you would think that it's interesting that they think they could do more with Jonas Griffith than develop him better than Vic Fangio.
But don't you think it's just as likely that Jonas Griffith gets cut than he is a starter?
Yep. I do. And especially when you talk about keeping these backups and guys that are fringe, Baron Browning, he's going to be your sixth outside linebacker, or maybe Malik Reed is, but he should still be on your team. You should find ways to get these guys on your team.
Yeah, and I don't mean that like I think Jonas Griffith is getting cut. What I mean is I have no idea how this staff specifically feels about him until they start talking about him. And there is a chance that they don't like him at all. Now, I think the commenter has a good point. Maybe this is an endorsement of what they think of him. And they said, okay, well, we don't necessarily need Baron Browning to play this athletic linebacker thing. We can have Jonas Griffith play that position. We can use Baron Browning, who we think has pass rush skills, at pass rusher.
Yeah.
But if they go out there week one and Baron Browning doesn't play, I'm going to have some serious questions.
Especially the way he played last year.
Yes.
And the commenter rightly is high on Jonas Griffith. Everyone should be super high on the type of player Baron Browning was at inside linebacker last year.
He looked awesome, especially for like a guy who was just kind of thrown out there.
Yeah.
Remember, he was one of those guys. Oh, we're being really careful with his injury. Okay, now he's out week 1, week 2, whatever. Yep. What did he come back? Week 5 or something?
Yeah.
And then he just like went out there and looked really good. And it was one of those things where you could tell he was a little bit in the learning process and was just leaning on his freakish athletic ability to just go make plays.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. All right, a couple more takeaways from rookie minicamp. Ryan, we did see an injury. Matt Henningsen went down with a calf strain, but it was just a calf strain. So we found that out after practice. He'll be fine. So that's really good. Probably taking it light this week. Final week of phase 2 of OT or of the offseason program. Next week starts OTAs when it really ramps up. So that was the only significant injury, and it's not really a big one, so that's really good. We found out that Luke Wattenberg will begin his career at center instead of the guard positions. My question to you is, can he push Lloyd Cushenberry for the starter?
No,
I don't think so either. If anyone's going to push Lloyd, and I do think there's going to be a competition there, it's Graham Glasgow.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of Lloyd Cushenberry insurance. But Luke Wattenberg is a little undersized, and you see teams that run this scheme go undersized at center sometimes. So it makes sense for me to put him there and say, like, okay, well, let's see if we really like having this like super agile, movable center who can, kind of move around the field really well.
I like that. Innie, who gave us official permission to just call him Innie, even though you want to flex on us, I'm sure.
Yes, Uwazurike.
There we go. He said that he is focused, and the coaches are having him focus on defensive end to start his career.
Real quick, Ioma is not hard to say.
Ioma. Sure, yeah. Uwazurike.
Uwazurike is a little bit harder.
But I got it.
But you got it easy.
Yeah.
I feel like Come on, we can not you. Just as a people, we can handle Ioma Uwazurike.
Yeah, people, you guys can handle Ioma Uwazurike. And so he's focused on defensive end, and to me, I think this is an opportunity for him to be the Week 1 starter. Ryan, I see DJ Jones, and by the way, Mike Purcell's still on the roster.
Yes,
kind of crazy.
He's been irrelevant for a year and a half
since he signed the deal, and just injuries. But a year and a half. I think DJ Jones is your starting nose tackle, and who can also be on the outside when you need him to. I think Draymond Jones is obviously a starting end, and then I think Ini is your Uwazurike is your other defensive end right now.
Ahead of who?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking guys that Deshaun Williams, guys that have started in the past. But if you want a difference maker, and maybe not by Week 1, maybe I'm being a little too hopeful there, but I think he gets more starts than any other guy on the defensive line outside of the other starting two.
I think it's fair. That's why you put him as your favorite value pick when we did that in the roundtable on the DNVR.com. And I pretty much would have done it if you hadn't already done it. He was a great value pick. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't want to put this ceiling on him, but to me, I just feel like I see this guy who just comes out there and is just solid for you for like years. I don't know if he's going to be a game-changing defensive lineman. I think he can be. But when I see him, I'm just like, NFL ready. Comes in, plays for you, plays well, puts up solid stats, and like when his rookie contract is up, you're like, I don't know why we wouldn't bring this guy back. He's just been solid the whole time.
Right. When I look at him, and this is obviously way too hopeful and not a fair expectation to put, I see Calais Campbell. I see a monster at defensive end.
6'8".
Yeah, and he's like 6'5", and he's 320, and he's built not big at all. When you see Calais Campbell, he honestly looks like a basketball player because he just doesn't have like any fat on him, and he maybe a little more to his body there, but extremely productive from the defensive end spot. Yeah, a little thicker. And one thing that could help him, and it was one of the first things that the coaches pointed to this weekend, was he played all the time at Iowa State. They think having him be a little more rotational is going to make him even better at the NFL.
Love that. He has grown man strength. Who was it that came in last year?
Yes, it was
it Quinn?
Wasn't it Muti?
It was Muti. Yeah, Shelby Harris on 3 Ring Circus told us, Muti came in and just tossed me the first day of practice. He's like, I like to go bully the rookies, and he just tossed me. And that's like kind of the level of strength that I see from Ini, as you like to call him.
There we go.
He's just like, he doesn't even have to look jacked.
Right.
He just moves things.
Yep, exactly. And really cool story about him. He went from academically ineligible at Iowa State to a all-conference academic. And it was really cool hearing him talk about that this weekend. He said he came from Detroit, which didn't have the best education. And then it was never a point of emphasis for him. He realized he needed to focus on it, got around the right people, and now is earning his master's degree right now. And he said his mom was more proud of him for that than getting drafted in the NFL. And that is just, it's so freaking cool that he was able to totally do a 180.
Yeah, I said this on the draft show, but it speaks a lot to the person that he is.
Yep, 100%.
And I think that's really, really cool. Like, there is a certain type of vigor and almost like pride that you have to be able to turn it around like that academically.
Yep.
And unfortunately, there are so many talented players who go from a terrible education system that is not their fault to college and just struggle. And, to their credit, a lot of these athletic programs have tons of help for these guys, and they do their best to help them and, keep them eligible and all that stuff. But you would be shocked, especially those of you who don't pay close attention to college football, how many players don't get in at all, get in and get kicked out of school. So it would have been very easy for him to get to Iowa State and just be way in over his head, and just wave the white flag and go back home, and to not only survive, because I give a lot of credit to the guys who just get a 2.0 and stay eligible, but to go from that to a 4.0 guy who becomes an academic all-conference player is. I'm more proud of him for that than I am for him making the NFL. So I understand where his mom is coming from.
And it was so cool to hear him talk about how he didn't know that he could like academics. Coming from Detroit and then at the beginning of college, it was just a chore for him. And he had a smile when he said, I genuinely enjoy it now. That's really cool.
Wish someone would have helped me figure out how to do that.
And Ryan, the last one, speaking about the opposite of any, Montrell Washington. Oh, my goodness. I love the guy. And he's got an awesome attitude. And you know who else loves him? Dwayne Stukes, the Denver Broncos. He is your week 1 starting returner at both spots. And one of the things, people don't like Greg Dulcich being so confident about feeling like he's here and stuff. One of the things that Montrell Washington, I loved his answer. And I'm totally fine with guys having confidence too. But when asked when he felt like he made it, has he had that feeling yet? And most of the guys, to be honest, said, when
I got the call.
When I was drafted, And Montrell said, I don't feel like I've made it yet. I'm just here now. I'm happy I'm here, but I still have so much work to do. Personally, I love that mindset, and I also love his fearless mindset. Ryan, when talking about returning punts, what's it like doing that, why he's successful, he said, because I'm fearless. I catch it and go. I trust the guys in front of me, and they trust me to do my thing. So I'm fearless. And from someone that has returned 1 kick in their high school career, it was a punt, and it was a really good punt. Give credit to George Washington's punter. I mean, this ball hung up in the air, and this is my one time.
Probably felt like 10 years.
Yeah, it's my senior. It's my last year. I know I'm not getting another opportunity, so I'm like, hell no, I'm not fair catching this. I should have. I caught it, and boom, I was taken out. Helmet was off.
You were fearless, bro. You were basically Montrell.
And I was fearless enough to never do it again. I became very fearful after that.
I never caught one in a game, but I lived with a punter. The punter at CU at the time, Dara O'Neill. Caught some punts for him. Not even fun. It hurts.
And your neck gets strained.
I mean, it's worse when you have to catch 10, 20 in a row because you just keep getting popped.
That's true.
Come home with just bright red forearms. But I gained a new respect because the number one thing for me is you're looking straight up in the air. You have no idea what's happening. No, I'm sure there are guys who are talented enough to look up, look down, look up, look down, but even then that's a risk because you got to make sure you're in the right spot to catch the ball. Fearlessness is the single number one most important quality of a returner. You see these guys, obviously Dwayne Hester is the GOAT. Devin Hester is the GOAT. I have no idea where that came from.
Dwayne Stukes, maybe.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I think there was a connection.
Devin Hester is the GOAT. He never hesitated, man. Got the ball and went. And there's nothing more frustrating as someone who's watching a returner, as someone who catches it and they're looking all indecisive, especially on kick returns. It's just dude, you got to get to the 25, so you better start. You better start now, because they're not as close to you. But even punt returners, guys who catch it and dance, the ones who take it to the house are the ones who go right up the seam, make one move, get to the outside.
And I feel like that's a little fearlessness 100%
to them. Fearless. You have to run right at people who are running right at you.
And that are much bigger than you.
Yes, exactly. So.
I mean, he's 150 pounds less than any.
That's insane.
And Innie's not even the biggest guy on the team. And he's close to it, though.
Yeah. I'm excited about him, too. Please just catch the ball.
Yeah, and he's going to do that and then do a lot more. As we know from your research, he's not going to ignore fair catching.
Yeah, I just want him to house his first return and yell, "I don't fair catches," even though he might still do some fair catches.
He yells it when he walks by Dwayne Stukes, and Stukes is like, "Get back here." By the way, Dwayne Stukes, from all of the coaches at minicamp and seeing practices a couple weeks ago, he's the bad cop. He's the dude that's MFing people. Nathaniel Hackett gets animated. Justin Allen gets animated. Evero gets animated. He is screaming at these guys.
I'm normally not for that. I don't think grown-ass men need to be yelled at like that.
It's fair.
But special teams is a different animal, man. You have to demand respect. And so I think there's other ways to do it. But if that type of demeanor results in those players respecting him and listening to him, then I'm for it in this very specific case, because I have watched a couple different, for lack of a better term, like happy-go-lucky special teams guys just get completely walked all over.
Yep.
Those guys don't listen to them.
Yep.
And they're having side conversations. They're doing this. They're half-assing drills.
Yep.
And when you have this like goofy, catchphrasey special teams coach, it's kind of
who takes all the blame.
Yeah, it's easier than a guy who, if he sees you, talking on the side, not listening to him, MFs you.
He's gonna rip India.
You're just not you're not going to do it as much. And you need, as special teams, to get those guys' attention, because it's human nature to check out a little bit from the boring parts of your job. Mm-hmm. And special teams part of practice is the boring part of a football player's job.
Yep. And it's also, typically you have a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator, head coach that is the guy that's screaming and yelling, or you have someone, a Bill Kolar for the Broncos the past couple of years. You have someone that's like that. The Broncos don't really have that anymore, so now he's kind of taking that role, and we'll see how it goes. But it's the complete opposite. It's a 180 from what they've been at special teams coordinator.
Yep, that's awesome. Also, remember how I said when I saw the schedule, I was like, oh, the Broncos are back?
Yep.
Another thing I came across this weekend, Broncos referenced in a new hit country song.
Oh, yeah?
It's got to go to them being back as well.
What country song?
I think it's called "How Is She" by Cole Swindell.
Okay, and the Denver Broncos, or could it?
The line is something like, "How is she living life out there in Colorado? How is she wearing red around all those Denver Broncos?"
Oh, damn!
So I assume
yes,
the girl came
100%.
from Kansas City to Denver.
Yep, and it would make sense with the country vibe. Kansas City carrying that over.
Yep, but like Broncos, getting referenced in country songs, they're back.
There we go. If you're in a country song, you're back in the hip culture.
Well, you're hip in country. I don't know if that's like I guess to some
in Kansas City.
Yeah, or to some in Denver.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm going to a country concert in Denver this weekend. Unfortunately, that NHL dragged their asses, and now it overlaps with the Avs Game 3.
Oh no! Yeah. And so you're choosing the country.
It was a wedding gift to Spencer and Kylie that we got them tickets for this concert.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, they also love the Avs, but like, we're going to follow through on the gift.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. And something that is going to follow through is our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. You bet $5, Ryan, on any NBA money line. They're going to follow through with $150 in free bets over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And they also have so many other cool things going on at DraftKings Sportsbook. Every single day, I open up my DraftKings Sportsbook app, and they have a new bonus, a new boost, a cool new parlay that they're putting together. There's always something which makes it so much fun, especially now we don't have the Avs playing every night. So to get in on the other ones, they always give you something that's interesting. And they're also giving customers the opportunity to get $25 back if their same game parlay with 3 or more legs doesn't hit one of those legs. You get $25 back. So a little risk-free bet there. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get $150 in free bets by betting $5 on any NBA team to win their game. That's all you have to do. Don't have to win. Just do that, and you get $150. And use that promo code DNVR when you sign up to also get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And Ryan, speaking of DraftKings, let's hop into our DraftKings pick of the week. And I'll go first because going through all of this, I just want to keep it simple, especially after talking to another division opponent today in the AFC West. This division's so freaking good. Now, I wouldn't bet money on the AFC West being the number 1 seed in the AFC because I think the division's going to cannibalize itself. But I think that this division is going to prepare each other for the playoffs and for the tough stretch that is coming. So last week, I gave you the pick that the AFC was going to be the winning conference of the Super Bowl. This week, it's the AFC West is going to be the winning division of the Super Bowl, which is dicey because that means it could be the Broncos.
Yeah.
But it also could mean it's the Chiefs or the Chargers. I don't think the Raiders, but I wouldn't say that they don't have a chance to win it all. I think the Broncos have a much better chance, but I think it's that. And right now, plus 350, some pretty good odds.
Yeah. On the bet show, we talk about oars. Like we love an oar. It helps you get through the water.
Yeah.
And this is an oar. You have 3 oars, right?
Yep. Broncos
or Chiefs or Chargers or
yep.
Raiders. It's a nice bet that gives you plus value that gives you 3 oars, which is nice to have. But I would be rooting against the AFC West team in the Super Bowl. I don't want to be betting on them. I'd rather just put it on the Broncos.
And that's fair, where you get a lot better odds.
Yeah.
It's fair. It's fair.
Because I just know, like, if any of those teams make it, I'm rooting against them. I have no AFC West pride.
But isn't this kind of a fun one where you're betting for the Broncos when you do this? But then you may not be rooting for the Chiefs, but if they win the Super Bowl, okay, well, you got some money then, too.
Yeah. A few years back, I did... I was trying to jinx the Chiefs, so I just put all of my money in my account on the Chiefs to try and jinx them. And if it didn't work, then I was going to make money, and then it did work.
Yep, because that was bucks.
And so I lost some money, but the Chiefs didn't win the Super Bowl. It was worth it.
It was worth it. So you did the opposite.
And I got an assist. They actually gave me a key to the city for doing that.
There you go. Well, thank you. Do you have that with you?
Yeah.
Is it in your toe?
It's on my keys.
It's in your keys. There we go.
What else was I going to say about that? I don't know.
Your pick of the week?
Oh, yeah. That was what I was going to say. My pick of the week is, I'll just give you guys one for tonight, right now. Don't hesitate. Game starting somewhat soon, I guess. We're going under 12 in the Giants-Rockies game tonight. Alex Wood is on the mound for the Giants. He kind of owns us. Even though we sometimes get hits off of him, but it just feels like every time I see him on the mound, he's just beating us. He also, I think, shut out the Rockies like a week ago. So that's fresh on my mind. And I just don't think there's going to be a lot of runs scored.
I was going to say plus, Ryan. I mean, I know you were mentioning the weather when on the bet show, but it's getting nasty out there.
Yeah, it looks a little better now.
It was windy.
Dude, there was literally a sign just rolling down the street because it blew off of its blocks.
Wow.
Like one of the ones that you trail. Like it's like the ones that have 3 blinking arrows.
Yes.
The big ones, and they're attached to wheels.
No way.
Yes, dude. I was literally looking out there. There's just one rolling down the street
on its own wheels because it had detached from the car or something.
Well, they left it there,
Right.
There was no car attached to it, and then I assume they put blocks under the wheels.
Yeah.
But maybe the blocks blew away,
oh my gosh.
Or it just got so much momentum that it rolled over the blocks.
Yeah, definitely under 12 runs in a Rockies game with weather like that.
Unless that wind's blowing out.
It could start snowing too, or raining, not snowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
apparently
nasty.
It could get close to snow later this week.
Wow, I'm not ready for that.
Not in downtown, but in surrounding areas.
Good. And one more shout out to everyone tuning in with us. We really appreciate all of the support. Hit us with a thumbs up if you're tuning in live on YouTube. Or if you're tuning in not live on YouTube, still hit us with a thumbs up. If you're watching on Twitter, hop over to YouTube. We really appreciate it. Subscribe and turn on alerts so you know anytime we're going live, because sometimes it's a little different from our noon.
I just saw the comment that said, "Damn, RK's darker than me now." And then they made my name RK.
Oh, yes. Wow. That is fancy. You ever thought about going by that?
No, I'm also just... your screen is just the colors are off. If it's making me look dark, I'm just red.
It's true. I always have... my night mode on, so it makes everything orange. And so sometimes I'll have someone come look at a picture on my computer about something. Like, oh my God, what's wrong with that person? I'm like, oh no, it's just my screen.
Well, you have it's like an anti-headache style.
So it takes all the blue away.
Yeah.
So everything's a lot more orange. So maybe that's what EMB is doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Whatever, keep doing it. It makes me look good. All right, let's get to these super chats. I know we got a couple here from Shiloh. He says, hoping Reed and Browning plays. Oh, hoping Reed gets traded. There we go.
Okay.
And Browning plays the Micah Parsons role. The interesting thing about Micah Parsons is he plays in a different defense. You know, they're playing 4-3 over there, so there's different positions in it. I love the idea of a Micah Parsons role. And if Baron Browning can even just be that type of player of that type of versatility, count me in.
Yep.
Maybe Evero wants to cover more from the edge, and so that's why he wants Browning there. Is he's saying like, okay, well we can line him up outside. He can run out and cover the flat, whatever it may be. But I still don't like it. I don't like it until I do.
Right, until you show that you're a once-in-a-generational talent like Micah Parsons has done,
Yep.
and that's what makes him so good is because he's that. Remember, the Cardinals tried to do it with Isaiah Simmons. Now, maybe he's a little better than he was his rookie year, but it was still like he didn't have a position, and that wasn't a good thing. That was a bad thing because he didn't know where to be. He was getting lost all the time. Another guy that kind of gives me vibes that could be going inside, outside, not full-time, but occasionally is Nik Bonitto. I wouldn't be shocked to see him line up at inside linebacker with pretty much the primary goal is to rush, so it would be on passing down specifically.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do that, you kind of have to use him in coverage a little bit, just so it's not completely telegraphed.
I think they're going to. It's going to drive some people crazy.
Just don't do it on Chase Claypool. Is that who Vaughn got lined up against?
Exactly, yep.
That was a disaster.
Chase Claypool is off.
Oh, it was so easy. I've never seen Von Miller look so unathletic.
Yep. So, not good at football.
Yeah.
It was one play.
One little shimmy, and he's just gone. I was like, oh, no. Von Miller's not supposed to look like that.
Yep.
He's much better going forward.
Exactly, yes. Just like Brendan Langley, much better going forward.
Yes, and we'll go forward on the show into the comment section on the DNVR.com. This first one comes in from Omaha, who says, would you look like that? Jerry Jeudy actually caught a case. Yikes.
Wow.
Maybe he can get the charges dropped. Yikes.
Oh, wow.
KJ Hamler is going to eat. Okay, so yeah, we talked a little bit about Jerry on the schedule release show.
Yep.
Any new details?
No new details. He was back with the Broncos today, and what we did hear over the weekend, Ryan, is it doesn't seem like the Broncos are taking this seriously. Let me say that. But one of the things Nathaniel Hackett said was he met with Jerry Jeudy in person right after he was released from prison on Friday morning. And then Nathaniel Hackett, he said, we want to move on from this.
Jail. Released from jail, which is different than prison.
Oh, is it? Yes. Oh, okay. Jail then, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just reiterate what I said the other day. Like, this is a maturity thing for me. Mm-hmm. And it's time for Jerry to grow up.
Yep, absolutely.
In all phases of his life.
Yep. It's disappointing, and I don't expect it to impact him week one.
Yeah, and that's one thing we didn't mention. We talked about, like, what type of discipline could come down. It sounds like there won't be. Yeah, especially maybe some internal stuff from the Broncos, but like stuff that wouldn't even become public.
Exactly. Especially with the other side, the victim of this wanting the charges dropped, just right the next day, it probably won't result in a suspension.
Yeah, and you hope that this is, kind of a, I don't know what word I want to use, but something that just doesn't come up ever again.
Yep.
There is it is interesting in Colorado. Someone does have to go to jail if a domestic thing happens, and I hope we never hear about that again. 100%. Really, for any Broncos.
Yeah, absolutely, or anyone.
But especially Jerry, learn a lesson here. Be a little more mature. The whole thing sounded very immature and childish to me.
Yep.
So grow up and stay out of trouble.
Absolutely. Next one coming in from Denver Rivals. He said he talked about his kickoff party that they had for the softball game this past Friday. I hope that went really well, Denver Rivals. And he says, I hate to give the Chargers props, but they made anime schedule release video that was pretty good. I'm just relieved we have the max primetime games. If the team can really gel, I could see us landing 12 wins. Let's hope it's a good season. And that Jeudy stops self-sabotaging his public image to the fans. DNVR fam, please support the Denver Rivals at Stoney's this past Friday. Wilson should make a shirt that say, let's ride and dine. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah. As for the Chargers video, we got some, you and I got called Grinches for not being into the release videos. By the way, both of us went back and watched it later and enjoyed it.
Yeah, the Broncos one was great.
It was great.
It was really good. However, I stick with my point.
Yes,
I'm going to stay with the Grinch. You know what some teams do? They go through it all, and then at the end, they have a nice screen of the schedule.
That's all we're asking for.
If they want to have John Elway drop the schedule, and then they kind of look at it from the angle we did,
Zoom in.
and they zoom in, they fix it, or then they just put a nice schedule on the screen, great. But they didn't even do that. So that was my only gripe. This is a schedule release video.
I'm looking back on it. Did the video have any details about the schedule?
Not until the very end. None.
Because in the years past, hadn't they like slowly revealed game by game throughout the video?
They did last year. I don't think they did.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But then it was just like a full house. Like one player like popped up as if he was a Full House character and had a picture of who they were playing. So it was very clear then.
You could almost have just like done a short. It had so little to do with the schedule that it could have just been a completely
100%.
But it doesn't mean it wasn't good. I'm not saying it wasn't good.
No,
it was great. Like the creativity that went into it. Obviously, getting Schefter to participate and 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, might I mention, was sick. Our whole thing was just like, we just want to see the schedule, and the schedule's released.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, as I guess a schedule release video Grinch, I did not watch the Chargers one.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
How familiar are you with anime?
On a scale of 1 to 100, I would put myself at a 1.
Yeah, I would put myself at a 1 as well, 1 not being informed.
Yes.
Yeah, so I appreciated the hard work that went into it because it was very impressive. But also, when I watched the whole thing and I was like, okay, that was fine. But then there's so many small details where they just shredded every team that they played. Shredded every team they played in a way where NFL teams don't do that. Like put every team on blast.
So like almost, you mean they shredded them in what way?
Like
roasted them?
Yes, like the Jaguars one. It's a picture essentially of the Urban Meyer picture where a female is dancing on him at a bar. It's him.
Wow.
It's that scene to announce that they're playing the Jaguars. Yeah, like that type of shots taken at teams.
That was like a stain on the NFL, that whole situation. I'm kind of shocked.
Yes. With the Broncos, the stadiums and the fire in the background. So a little shot there. And I mean, every team had this. So they were very creative. And typically NFL teams don't take shots at other NFL teams on social media.
I'm pro team accounts being savages.
Yeah.
So
then
good for them.
You would like this. Also, speaking of them, do you know how they put out the Pop-Tarts before the schedule was released? This Pop-Tart we're relating it to this team we're playing?
Yeah, they did that this year again?
They did. But they didn't do it with team logos. They did it with individual players on teams. So they used Russell Wilson. Guess what the Pop-Tart flavor was?
I'm gonna guess
Russell Wilson, you're trolling him.
I'm gonna guess corn?
Bingo. Impressive. Good call. But that's a shot at Russ.
It is.
Calling him corny.
I was between corn and cheese. That's actually what they should have done.
Yeah.
Corn and cheese pop.
Yep.
That would probably actually be pretty good.
No, get out of here.
You have to remove yourself from thinking of Pop-Tarts as a sweet thing and think more Hot Pocket.
It's a thin Hot Pocket? Yeah. A Hot Pocket thin.
Hot Pocket mini.
Oh, man, we're off the rails.
All right.
Bold 94 coming in and says, I want to celebrate Russ's first game as a Bronco. DNVR should go to Seattle and have a tailgate at Lumen Field. What do y'all think? I would 100% go to DNVR vent there.
Honestly, it was in the cards. I don't think it's gonna happen. Number one thing would have been like not week 1. Would have been more likely for us to go up there. I think we are gonna try to do a DNVR road trip game where we invite everyone. We have a big tailgate, all that cool stuff. Maybe even multiple. The number one thing that's scaring me off of doing it for Seattle now is what I'm hearing about these ticket prices.
Yeah, big time.
That's a huge barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to other stadiums, we all know that NFL games are kind of ridiculously priced in the first place, but not that ridiculously priced.
No.
So I I don't think I want to go do that at a game where like most people won't be able to afford tickets.
It's a really good point. It's a really good point where the price of a ticket could be the price of the rest of your entire trip.
Totally.
Of airfare and hotel stays.
And obviously a lot of Broncos fans are going to try and do the London trip.
Yep.
So yeah, that one's obviously going to be the most expensive you could possibly do.
Yep. So people are saving up for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are.
Next one from Mile High Buckeye says, I'm looking at going to the Broncos game in Charlotte, Baltimore, and Seattle this year and checking those stadiums off my list. Charlotte and Baltimore will be no problem and can do a road trip each without having to miss any work. But tickets to the Broncos-Seahawks game are going for $350 plus per ticket, just what we were talking about. Also, because it's on Monday Night Football, I'll have to take off multiple work days. I may have to wait a few months for those prices to drop. That being said, if anyone has leads to cheaper tickets, please let me know. Hopefully, I'll be able to get out there to the DNVR bar this fall as well. Long live DNVR. Much love, Alex.
Love it. My guy goes to all sorts of games. I love it.
He does.
He has a sick roster of games that he's been to.
He's hit pretty much every stadium.
Yeah, which is incredible. Next one's from Melbourne Broncos. He says, my boys, just want to say I'm going to miss Mace. His Broncos knowledge was unsurpassed, and I wish him all the best, and we know the DNVR family will miss him, but we will all grow together. Great comment, and of course, we're going to miss Mace. We wish him nothing but the best. We hope all the best for him and his family. And I saw someone in the comments earlier say, like, are you guys going to address the Mace thing? We gave Mace a full send-off on Thursday. So I know it feels like some people missed that, maybe because it was at the very end of the show.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you guys were tuning out at the end of our show. No,
so let's just bury this one at the end,
too. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But we gave Mace a whole send-off at the end of his last show, which was Thursday before the schedule release.
Right.
So we did two shows on Thursday. So if you want to hear that, go check out that show. It would have been not our most recent show, but one before that.
Exactly. Next one coming in from Charles Snodgrass. Says, hey, guys, I'm stationed at Fort Meade between Baltimore and D.C. and wondering if you will be in Baltimore for the December 4th matchup. Hoping to bring the mayhem to Baltimore. Let's go, Broncos. Ryan, we're getting questions. So many people asking us if we're going to be at so many road games. This hasn't happened in the past. I think this shows a new step with what Nathaniel Hackett and more so Russell Wilson is bringing to this team. People want to go to these games if they're anywhere close to them.
Dude, as a longtime Buffs fan, I know the feeling of planning a big thing, going and getting the tickets. For some people, it's traveling. For other people, they might just be like he's talking about. He's in DC already. But when you go and you spend all that money to watch your team play and they suck, and not even in like an entertaining way,
right?
It's
bad and boring.
Rough. It's rough. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who went to a couple games in the post Peyton Manning era and just were like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yep.
That are now going to come back and do it again. And so that's awesome. We're going to come up with a whole plan for, what we're doing at different games. And like I said, I want to do at least one where we, plan a big event before the game where we all go down there and hang out. And we'll obviously tell you guys, and maybe we can even all stay in the same hotel, like that sort of thing. Yep. That's something that I've been rattling around in my brain. There's a lot of room to rattle in there. So, stay tuned. We'll come up with something cool.
I can't wait. Dan Burke says, hey guys, first of all, I'm not sure if he'll see this, but I want to thank Mace for his coverage with DNVR over the past few years and wish him luck wherever the future holds for him next. Sounds like he'll still be covering the Broncos, so I look forward to seeing where he lands. Second, Zach touched on the floor of the receiver group in light of the Judy news. Now, the Judy incident doesn't appear to be too serious in terms of what punishment he'll receive, but it did make me realize that the Broncos are an injury or off-field issue from being in trouble at that position. With that in mind, there are a couple of players that stand out to me as no-brainer signings. The first is Julio Jones. Tim and Cortland are great leaders, but I feel like that in that room and the team in general, there needs to be a true veteran presence, and especially one with an extensive playoff experience. Julio clearly lost a step, but he can still be a productive in a smaller role than he's used to. The other one that comes to mind has his own off-field issues, and that's Antonio Brown.
Hard pass.
I agree. He says, that being said, Russ did try to recruit him to Seattle before he signed with the Bucs, and they seem to have a good relationship. Plus, Zach Azzani recruited and mentored Antonio Brown at Central Michigan. Antonio Brown even lived with Azzani and his wife for a while, and credits him for helping him develop a routine as a college player. What do y'all think?
One that made me go, One that made me go, no.
Julio, you're 4.
Yes. I don't even know if I'm
you're
4.
Open to.
He's just chilling right now?
Yeah.
No one signed him?
Yeah, no, got released.
Wild. I remember, I obviously knew he got released, but, then the big frenzy happens. You don't even think about it. It's weird because you're not desperate right now.
No.
Like, Antonio Brown, that is desperate. That is, you have nothing else, and you're in the middle of a playoff run, touch wood, and something terrible has happened in your receiver room. And even then, it's still going to be a no from me. By the way, that just reminded me of the time that I was pro Antonio Brown. Because massive L on my part.
We forgive you.
Julio is one that does intrigue me, but I'm sure he's not just going cheap. Like, I think he's just chilling right now because he's in no rush. Wherever he goes, I think he's going to still get a bag. And it feels like you would need to be forced a little bit to do that from a Broncos scenario. They are paying 2 receivers good money.
Yep.
And they have a first-round pick behind them.
Yep.
So they've had a lot invested there. I think there would have to be something, and I hope I'll touch wood again, that would happen that would cause them to go make a move like that.
And Antonio Brown, no for every reason, but even one that you mentioned with him and Russ potentially having a good relationship, Tom Brady and Antonio Brown had a really good relationship, and
he walked off the field.
Yeah, he walked off the field on Tom. So no. The Broncos have good things going on. Don't do anything that could ruin it.
I completely agree, and that was going to be my last point. Like, from a vibes perspective, it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
From Bronc Oilers, I want to reiterate something that I think RK said the other day that I don't believe gets talked about enough. I don't think people understand how big of a star Nathaniel Hackett is going to become if the Broncos become a winning team again. When the Broncos become a winning team again. His personality is just so different, and I think it's a rarity, not just in the NFL, but in pro sports, to have a coach so comfortable with himself to come off almost silly. Watching him goofing off with Tom Pelissero, mirroring each other's movements in the NFL Network interview, and joking with George Payton, channeling Ron Burgundy in his mic'd up videos, really just makes me think that he's almost as big of a factor as Russ in changing the national perspective of the Broncos once he gets more exposure in the national media. We've been one of the most uninteresting teams in the league for nearly a decade now, and we not only have the on-field tools to be legitimately explosive, but we have a leader that is entertaining and fun to watch in his own right. I think if things go according to plan, then Nathaniel Hackett is going to help Broncos country a whole lot bigger with his lovable Ted Lasso type vibes. Go Broncos and let's go Oilers.
Yeah, we're not gonna say that last part, but I agree with you.
They're not playing
Ryan.
the Avs yet, so
yeah, no, not yet. But yeah, Nathaniel Hackett's going to be loved. His personality is going to be loved, and Ryan, he's getting love for being the coach of the year on DraftKings Sportsbook. Second best odds. Second best odds plus 1,600. Can you guess who's number one?
Behind. I'm trying to think of like a team that didn't do much last year that has a lot of room for improvement. Is that?
Don't think that.
Okay.
I don't want to throw you totally off though. You're not like so far off.
Why am I blanking on his name?
I give you a really big hint. You've got someone in mind.
Zac Taylor.
No. Okay. He can take a bigger step than Zac Taylor can. So maybe I initially threw you off. I didn't mean to initially throw you off.
Threw me off.
Yeah.
I was thinking Brandon Staley.
Okay, well then you're right.
Oh, what? Yep. They totally underachieved last year. They missed the playoffs.
They were right at the playoffs.
They missed the playoffs.
They were an overtime away from being at the playoffs.
Oh my God! You threw me off my OG guess. That was correct.
I'll give you that as your first guess though. You got on your first guess.
You and your Chargers. How do you not think they underachieved last year?
They had a winning. No, I think they underachieved.
Okay, they have a lot of room for improvement. They won what 9 games?
That's just What, to be 12? Is that a lot?
It's huge.
12 wins?
It's a 30% increase or something.
Okay, I guess we just our math doesn't line up to what we think significant.
Fair enough.
But Brandon Staley plus 1,400. You're right on that. Nathaniel Hackett plus 1,600, tied with Mike McDaniel. Your guy.
Wow, very interesting. Mike McDaniel's just waiting for Tom to come on down there. Now Tom has all the leverage. He can do whatever he wants. He can say, you don't want to let me do whatever I want? Well, I have $37 million a year waiting for me whenever I decide to retire.
It's very true. It is very true.
So Tom is literally going to control every move he makes for the rest of his career, and no one can do anything.
Smart, right?
Which he kind of already had that much power, but now whoever, hats off to his agent.
Yeah.
Because he might not ever work for Fox.
No. But by the time that comes around, things could have changed.
Yep, exactly. But he'll got all that publicity,
yep,
and he'll be able to use that card anytime he wants, whatever he wants.
Oh, you don't want to sign Antonio Brown? Well,
right,
I think
I
I'm
guess
going
I'll
to quit
just go
week 8.
to Fox. As for Nathaniel Hackett, I loved what they said about him being comfortable with who he is.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite thing about Nathaniel Hackett. The dude does not scream prototypical NFL head coach.
Nope.
And it would be very easy for someone to get like imposter syndrome and try to be more like an NFL coach. Nope, the dude's just himself. Take it or leave it.
Yep.
And I'm taking as much as possible.
Yeah, well, 100%. And it just makes me think, Vic Fangio last year, we had many quotes come out from Hackett this weekend, but one of them, I asked him about Greg Dulcich. What's the unique thing he brings? And the first thing he said was, the hair. Have you seen the hair? Could you imagine a traditional NFL coach saying that?
No, and I think we're moving a little bit away from, like, I think Sean McVay would have said it.
Sure. I think so too. But I think that's the future of where they're going.
Yeah,
A Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, a Brandon Staley. These younger guys, I think, would say that. But for the most part, the guys that have been in the NFL for so long wouldn't.
We don't need any more, like, old school hard asses.
Right.
We just don't.
No.
The new generation is much more palatable and exciting.
Yeah. And if that's because of the new generation of players that older people want to say are soft, well, it is what it is. You can go in there and not cater to them and be a miserable place to work. And it's going to be what Josh McDaniels was when he was with the Broncos.
60-year-old curmudgeon and miss the playoffs every year.
Exactly. Yep. Last one, I think, coming in from Russway Johnson, says, let's ride. So excited about this season. I've been a diehard fan since '89. I live in Vermont, born and raised in Utah, and bought tickets to the Jets game. I will be going with my father and little sister who are Cowboys fans. I plan to go to the DNVR Bar and get my member beer after the Broncos stomp the Jets. I will be in Denver Saturday night through Monday afternoon. Any recommendations on site to see or food to eat? By the way, I love Mexican and can't get it in Vermont. Thanks, fellas. Listen to the pod every day. See you soon.
Bro, you're coming to a great place if you love Mexican food.
Very true.
I mean, there's so many options. Like, even just down the street from here, there's a place called Mezcal.
Yep.
Fire.
Yep.
Absolute fire. But that's not even like one of like the traditional Denver,
right.
Mexican staples. So like Los Dos, I would say to go to Los Dos.
I was gonna say if you're a Broncos fan, because not only do they have good Mexican food, but
now there's a story.
Yeah,
behind
exactly.
It. But hit us up, especially as it gets closer. Like send us a DM or something, and we'll hit you with some more recs.
Man, I could go for Mexican food right now, Ryan.
I can always go for Mexican food.
Yeah.
Legitimately, that's something I could eat every single day.
Oh,
no hesitation.
Oh, just a smothered burrito or a chimichanga. Ooh. Oh, yes.
Oh, speaking of good Mexican places, La Loma. Have you ever had the mini chili rellenos they have there?
No.
My guy Kale in the background.
Man.
Bro, they're almost like egg rolls.
Oh.
But they're chili rellenos. And they come with a side of green chili, so you dip them in green chili.
Oh my god! I think we just sold our guy Russway Johnson.
Yeah, there you go. So plenty of places to get some awesome Mexican food in Denver. It's something that we take a lot of pride in here. We also take pride in having long shows once in a while.
Yes, we do.
There's no timer on podcasts. Sorry, Kale, we kept you probably longer than you wanted to be here.
He's craving Mexican food too now.
Yeah, maybe we'll all go get some Mexican food. There's a taco spot right across. Anyways, that is going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys so much for all of the comments, the super chats as well. We appreciate everyone who tuned in. Hit us with a thumbs up on YouTube on your way out, and we will catch you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.